In the last video on this channel, we were at 113,000 and we discussed our target for the initial breakout being 120,000, and that is what we reached. In the short term, things look really good. And in the long term, things also look really good. Bitcoin, higher highs, higher lows, going parabolic, following the textbook parabolic trend diagram. Now, there is some warnings, some caution signals showing up. I think that ultimately we're going to go higher in this cycle, but this could be a zone where the price settles up for a little bit. We get a little bit of volatility, consolidation. And for the others chart, the altcoin low cap index, we have gotten a breakout, a confirmed break with a weekly close above our downtrend line, and this may be signaling the next expansion phase for the altcoins. All of this and more in today's video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin Svenson. Today is July 14th. It's Monday, start of a new week, and Bitcoin is trading right around 120,000. So this is pretty awesome to see. Bitcoin appears to be unstoppable right now. The S&P 500 is still stable above its new all-time highs, which is, in my book, one of the most important things when you're analyzing Bitcoin is to ensure that the S&P's direction follows your trades or your investments. The S&P is really the North Star for highly speculative markets such as Bitcoin. It's not the same exact price action or same percentage gains, but there is a strong correlation in the direction of the market. And for all of you guys that have been waiting for the trading bot tutorial, that is going to be coming fairly soon, probably within the next month. We've been getting some fantastic results, 6,300% gains over the past 90 days, including fees, right? On some of these low cap meme coins, totally outperforming the entire market. And for those of you that sign up using my BloFin link below, you will be gaining access to this once it is ready to go. And I'll let you guys know when that is. Bitcoin on the daily has seen a big rejection wick on the current daily. We still have a few hours until the close. Volatility is increasing at this new all-time high, which is expected. If you go to the 4-hour chart, you can see Bitcoin is most likely about to enter a consolidation in this zone. In my book, this is nothing to worry about. In fact, this is extremely healthy. You kind of need this for continuation. Now, one of the possibilities in the short term on the 4-hour chart is that we might see longs build up for a while here. And then there's always the possibility of a flush to a slightly lower low before an actual spring back up, right? This type of price action would be not surprising whatsoever. Maybe this doesn't happen right here. Maybe we actually continue up first and get that consolidation to take place at a higher level before getting a flush down and then continuation. But this is the type of volatility I would be looking for after a move like that. And that's just short term. The main thing for me is the long term. We are now entering the vertical stage where most likely the price is going to be sending up towards levels like 140, 150,000 is my estimated range for the next top zone to come in before a break of the parabolic trend. And unlike the textbook diagram where it's a straight line, that's of course not how it goes. It's not going to be a straight line up. There's going to be chop, volatility all along the way on our way to those higher levels. Maybe around October, we'll be seeing 140, 150,000 for Bitcoin. Now on the weekly chart, Bitcoin is coming up on a very critical spot, and this is the weekly RSI downtrend. This is one of the best counter arguments to my bullish sentiment, right? Because personally, I'm very bullish. I don't see why I should be bearish on Bitcoin right now. And the S&P is hitting new all-time highs, sustaining all-time highs. Bitcoin's hitting new all-time highs, still above the all-time highs. It all looks really good. It looks like a perfect setup for continuation. But it's always good to try to counter your own sentiment and your own ideas. Find an argument, find a reason why you could be wrong. In the last 2 times we had this rejection on the weekly RSI, that came down 33%. And from this area here came down 31%. That's a major correction, 30%. And if we were to get something like that again, that means that we would be seeing, 84,000. Personally, I don't think that this is likely to occur. According to the textbook diagram, we have not actually completed the parabolic trend. The next stage really has only just begun. We just exited base 4, which means we have a lot more upside to go before we can consider this trend to be over, or at least we would have to see Bitcoin actually come all the way back down to these levels and break below the parabolic trend. And that would only happen if the S&P 500 also played out a reversal. But there's no reason to believe that the S&P is currently seeing a reversal, or there's no reason to believe that it will reverse. Nothing has shown up. We have green weeklies in a row. It looks like we're going to get continuation. And so for Bitcoin, regardless of the volatility on the first day of the week, this is still a new weekly candle. This weekly candle will probably look a lot different by the end of the week than it does right now. But again, this is not something to ignore. I would definitely watch this. There's always the possibility that we reject the weekly, but then consolidate and break above it later. If we did reject this zone, that could provide volatility back to the actual breakout around like 110 before getting continuation. And ultimately, that is still very bullish. Previous all-time high becomes new support. The good news is Bitcoin has a lot of room to move down before actually becoming bearish, right? We can retest all the way down to our breakout level and still consider this a constructive trend, a very bullish trend, a retest of the breakout. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that if we do reject the weekly RSI, something like that could take place. And the only way that this would be a top of the market, like a market top, is if Bitcoin rejected the weekly RSI, and the S&P 500 also rejected back below the all-time high zone. Then I could see the argument for that this is just a fake out and we're headed back down. So again, that's just the bearish argument, which I think is worth considering, of course. Personally, I think, this new all-time high is just the start, and we're going to be following the textbook diagram towards 140 to 150,000. Regardless of whatever volatility may show up in the short term, I'm looking for continuation on this trend. Currently, Bitcoin's monthly chart looks pretty incredible, if you ask me. This is a very, very strong monthly chart. So as of right now, I'm looking for continuation. There's nothing bearish about this. There's no top signal here, so looking good. Now, moving on to the altcoin chart, the others chart, the altcoin index for the low cap altcoins, and we've had our first weekly close above our downtrend line, likely means we're heading up towards 550 billion. A slightly higher high from our previous high is the first target in the coming months. The next 1 to 2 months, others, low caps, could see a run up towards this level. The last time we saw the others chart break its downtrend line, we ultimately ran up to, a slightly higher high from our previous high. And that came after the same exact wave count that we just had, going to the daily on others. And the same thing is right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and huge run. After the 8th count, we're breaking the downtrend line. So that is pretty good fractal, I would say. I'm not a huge fan of fractals, but this one does appear to be playing out. Now, one of the bigger signals for altcoins here is going to be Bitcoin dominance, which dominance is currently sitting right on this uptrend line. Get your touch points right. You can see we're just barely starting to cross below our most recent uptrend line for dominance on the daily chart. And this is really the critical point where either the story is going to stay the same or it's going to take a huge shift. Bitcoin dominance has been able to continue to find higher lows and higher highs for the entire cycle so far. And what we're looking for now is breaking the trend line and finding lower highs and lower lows. And if we get that, obviously that's a downtrend for dominance. That means altcoins are regaining popularity. People are coming back to the crypto market because Bitcoin is really high in price. It's probably hitting the news right now. A lot of retail floods back to the exchanges. And what do they buy? They buy the altcoins. And ultimately, this is good for everything. When more retail comes back to the exchanges and altcoins gain dominance, it just means there's more interest in crypto. It's good for Bitcoin. It's good for altcoins. Some of Bitcoin's most bullish price action takes place really at the start of alt season, actually, when everyone's flooding back to the exchanges. But also, if dominance comes down and Bitcoin goes vertical and altcoins start pumping, it also means that the cycle is getting closer to its end, right? When altcoins regain their dominance, usually it means that, the retail crowd has flooded in and you hit a cap on growth for the cycle. But of course, that takes, many weeks to actually achieve that sort of cap where you can't see any more growth. It's going to require a lot more pumping from the rest of the market before we actually hit that point. In my opinion, we're nowhere even close to it yet. And this is the one positive thing about dominance, having not dropped yet. for all the altcoin holders out there. I mean, dominance dropping is one of the requirements in past cycles for the cycle to actually come to an end. And we haven't even seen the beginning of a dominance drop, which means we're likely nowhere near the end of the cycle yet. It's really probably just getting started for a lot of these altcoins. But yeah, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend, and this trend is not over. The trend is still up. The trend is still bullish. We're still getting breakouts, retesting resistances, new support. So it all looks really good. So be sure to click that link below and sign up for BloFin. That's it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.